There is literally a Gumball episode about Gumball trying to get his butt slapped. No, I'm not joking. Gumball is a weird show with a lot of really strange episodes. So today we're gonna look over the 10 weirdest episodes of the show and see how weird it can really get, starting with the decisions, which is honestly a pretty normal Gumball episode. The only reason it makes this list is because it has the most sus scene in Gumball history. I'll just let this explain itself, but vegetables are the cornerstone of a healthy diet and are very important, and you need to make sure you eat at least 5 a day. Delicious. I'm not even gonna lie. This is crazy to me that they would put this in a kid's show. As I've watched Gumball now that I'm older, I've noticed a bunch of adult references I never would have understood as a kid, which I personally find to be a part of the appeal of the show. But yeah, this one was crazy, but coming in at number 9, we have the world, and this one is all over the place, so luck in. This episode is one of the first couple of episodes the creators of Gumball made, which center around really weird things in Elmore. This episode specifically centers around inanimate objects in the world. It starts off with a song with every irrelevant character who's usually just in the background singing. And I gotta say, this is kind of a banger. We do all of this and more, cause we're the Amazing World of Elmore. After this, we get into all the really weird interactions in the World of Elmore, and some of these are so strange I can't even really explain them. First, we see the moon being energetic and annoying the sun. Then we see a light switch and light bulb pranking each other, bacteria just multiplying for some reason, and so many other things which literally are just the most random stuff the writers could have put in the episode. I want to try to talk about more, but I literally just can't. Everything is too random. There is no plot. Honestly, these kind of episodes have always kind of felt like filler episodes to me. As there isn't really any substance to it, it kind of just feels like scrolling on TikTok, to be honest. But I do give props to the creators of Gumball for trying different things and always experimenting with different formats. But coming in at number 8, we have the puppy, and this one is weird in kind of a disturbing way. It all begins with Gumball, Darwin, and Annis presenting a detailed pitch to Richard, advocating for the family to adopt a puppy to increase their happiness. Richard, convinced by the presentation, decides to get a pet. However, instead of a puppy, he brings home a turtle. Believing it to be a labradoodle, it's a labradoodle. Or as he later calls it, a labra turtle. The turtle, however, turns out to be anything but a typical pet. This thing is straight up demonic. It hisses at family members and even ends up biting them, despite their efforts to bond with it, including providing it with its own space and attempting to feed it. The turtle remains hostile. And eventually, the turtle ends up faking its death so they can throw him away, but this actually just turns out to be an elaborate scheme to escape. And when the turtle escapes and causes chaos throughout Elmore, the Wattersons have to go out on a frantic mission to try to recapture it. And their first idea to get it back is by baiting it with chicken. But Richard eats that, so that's not really an option. So they resort to tying up Gumball naked on a tree as bait. And the plan was Annis is gonna capture it under a jar. However, this does not work as Gumball gets scared and runs away. But the turtle keeps chasing Gumball and eventually corners him in a van, where Darwin comes in clutch and fights him until fireworks accidentally get lit off, blowing up the van. The turtle is seemingly killed off, but then something unexpected happens. No, this can't be possible. No. Well, I guess there's no getting rid of it. We'll have to keep it for as long as it lives. How long do they live? 130 years. Yeah, this thing will never die. I feel bad for Gumball and Darwin. The turtles actually come back in other episodes and is basically a recurring character now. I wonder where they keep him in their house. I don't even want to think about that. This episode is weird, but it's not even comparable to the 7th episode on this list, The Hug, which is one of the most awkward episodes in Gumball history. And in this episode, we meet a character named Hot Dog Guy, who will be an important character later on this list. We meet Hot Dog Guy in this episode when Gumball bumps into him in the hall. And instantly, it is abundantly clear that there is a really awkward dynamic between the two. And I mean, just look at the smiles they make. I don't even know why they act so awkward around each other specifically, but they don't act awkward around anyone else. But for some reason, they can't help but being awkward around each other, but we'll actually find out why later in this video, so keep watching. So for some reason Gumball goes in for a hug. I assume to try to kill the awkwardness, and to make it worse, when they're hugging they start singing a little song and dancing. What? Okay, honestly this is so painful to watch. Throughout this episode they just keep running into each other. No wait, why do they keep making this face? I don't even have words to describe this clip, so I just have to show you guys. Bring. Oh, it's the Legend phone. Hello, yeah, he's here. It's for you, Legend phone. What does that even mean? Hello, it's me. The Legend, click. I'm sorry I made. You guys watch that. I just had to share some of my trauma with watching this episode. Anyways, this pattern for some reason continues. So as a solution they try to avoid each other as much as they can, which ends up with them accidentally just bumping into each other even more. So in a last-ditch effort, Gumball decides to try to hide in a bus seat, but that doesn't fix the problem of him inviting him over to a sleepover the day before. Gumball, my boy, what are you thinking? So we go to the sleepover where Hot Dog Guy quickly falls asleep, which lets a lot of stress off of Gumball. But while sleeping, Hot Dog Guy puts his hand on Gumball, and while he's trying to fix it, Hot Dog Guy wakes up in the worst time possible, catching Gumball on top of him in a sus position. This really can't get any worse. The next day, while they're walking down the hallway at school about to run into each other again and have another awkward moment, Hot Dog Guy finally snaps out of it, which for some reason causes them to keep doing more and more extreme pranks to one another. Until at the end, when they realize they really don't care about each other in the first place, so they kind of just stop being awkward, which you think would stop all of this. But no, the awkwardness comes back in another episode appropriately titled The Awkwardness. And it starts by Gumball rapping in the street when, oh no, he runs into Hot Dog Guy again. And for some reason the awkward energy is back. And get this, it's even worse than before, but the twist of this episode is for some reason every time they say something it's perfectly in sync with one another. And apparently everything they do is in sync as well. So they end up just accidentally following each other around. They even end up crammed like sardines right next to each other in a bus. This really couldn't get any worse. They keep following each other until eventually they're stuck in an elevator. As an attempt to make it less awkward, Gumball gets the idea to tell their most embarrassing secrets, which does not accomplish much, except for Tobias getting an embarrassing video of them. Basically the same stuff keeps happening throughout the episode, so I'll spare you guys the details. But in the end, after being handcuffed and running through the mall, they resolve things and everything seemingly goes back to normal again. Finally, we're done with Hot Dog Guy, right? Wait, no, there's another one, and this one's called The Cringe. Honestly, I'll keep this one short because it is a lot of the same stuff. The twist this time is they both really have to pee, and they both can't use the bathroom at the same time because it's too awkward. But eventually they end up cringing so hard at how awkward they are that they end up in the hospital. They reached a cringe level of 100 DJ, which stands for 100 dad jokes at once. But not even being sent to the hospital could cure their cringe. So Gumball pretends to be his father for some reason, which does not work how he wanted. But while attempting this, he finds out that they were in the same kindergarten class, which makes them realize to stop the cringe they have to find the deep-rooted problem that has been causing it all along. And after making a time machine by using their imagination, they go through all the main events that initially caused them to be awkward. And it turns out awkward stuff has been happening all throughout their life, and they didn't even remember. So they decided to change these memories by literally fighting their past selves, which works until the hand comes back and slaps them, which makes them awkward again. This whole Hot Dog Guy arc was really weird. But coming in at number 4 we have The Weirdo, which is an episode about trying to change yourself just to be accepted. Now we all know Susie, Elmore's weirdest resident. She acts completely unhinged and doesn't care about what anyone else thinks. Or at least that's what it seems, but this episode shows the truth. Susie isn't as carefree as she seems. It all starts with her doing what she does best, giving her classmates weird and random gifts. She gives Gumball a handful of mayonnaise, Darwin gets a ripped up $100 bill, and everyone else's gifts are just as weird, and then everyone immediately throws them away right in front of her. which makes Sussy really sad, and Gumball feels really bad, so he tries to help everyone hide the fact that they're getting rid of her gifts. Later that day, bullies come up to her, but this completely backfires because she's too weird even for the bullies to have any effect on her day. Gumball sees this and has kind of lost hope for her at this point. So he gets the idea to poison the water supply so everyone can be as dumb as her. And after a little convincing from Darwin, they decide to just help her fit in. Oh, come on, Darwin. Gumball was really onto something with the water idea here. But this next one is weird in a different way. At number 3, we have the shipping, and just from the title, you guys might be able to tell what happens. This episode starts with the police raiding the sketchy guy's van, and in here they find a bunch of really weird and powerful items, like an umbrella that controls the weather, a doll that possesses you, a magic lamp that grants you wishes, but then he runs away and takes off in the van, and then we go to Sarah's house, where she's going out to get the mail, but conveniently a book drops out of the van. But this isn't any normal book. This is a Cartoon Network book, and we will see that this book has magical powers later in this video. So she goes inside, and with all of this creative freedom, she starts shipping characters. Yeah, out of all the things you can do, shipping characters? Yeah, we gave this notebook to the wrong person. She goes through and starts shipping people, but there is quickly a problem that comes up. A lot of the things she writes in the book are taken way too literally, but coming in at number 2 is the news, and this one is very similar to the world from earlier on this list, but somehow it's even weirder. It starts like any normal Gumball episode would, with the boys, well, watching the news. And once we get to the news, it's clear that this will be a really weird episode. We don't see the normal guy who does the news. Instead, we see this random paper dude. And we go through a bunch of news stories that are kind of just normal in Elmore, but would be insane to anyone in the real world. And that's pretty much it. This is just another episode where the creators are experimenting with the most weird gag bits they possibly can think of. Hell, there's even a gag in this episode, which makes fun of having filler. And they literally say a whole lot of nothing for an actual 2 minutes of runtime in the episode. Blah, 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 filler, filler, filler. It kind of just feels like they didn't have a very good idea for an episode and just slapped some random news-related stuff together. Something about this one is really bizarre to me. The entire episode just feels like an acid trip. But coming in at number 1 for the weirdest Gumball episode of all time, which is saying a lot, we have the slab, and oh boy, this one is just strange. It starts with Gumball and Darwin coming up with a new way to high-five at recess, when Darwin mentions how his version of the high-five is with Tobias. Starts kind of normal with the high-five, but then right after he gives you a slap on the butt. Yeah, then after this we see Tobias going around slapping everyone's but except for Gumball's, which for some reason makes him really jealous. How dare you? You've got some nerve, young man. That rules my society, and casually slapping people. This whole episode was super strange. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to subscribe or you're weird. Get it? Because this is the weirdest episode of Gumball. And I said you're weird if you don't subscribe.